Order at 6 p.m. This is a special meeting for Thursday, April 25th, 2024, for a budget public hearing. Madam.
Dimitri, is that your kids?
Yes. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
I will. Tim Hale will not be present. Stephanie Nowers.
Here.
Dee McKee will not be present. Robert Yunt.
Here.
Bill Gamble.
Here.
Dimitri Fonoff.
Here.
Ron Bernier is on his way.
Okay, thank you. So
And you
we
do have a quorum, sorry.
Thank you. That's all right. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda is approved. If you'll stand with me, and Jessica, if you will lead us in the pledge. The flag is up here in the corner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is audience participation. We do have a sign-up sheet. We'll go to those signed up first, but we will still give an opportunity to anyone else that would like to participate under audience participation. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Carter?
Yes.
That's you.
Do I press the green button when I'm ready to speak?
It's,
You're good.
no.
Okay, get it for me. Thank you. My name is Carter Debach. I'm the owner of Debach Auto Salvage LLC of Wasilla, Alaska. And I wanted to talk about a couple things that you guys have done in the past that I think were really good for the community. One of them was the free trash drop-off at the dump. I think that it was a really good thing. It helped out a lot of people. I'd like to see that again this year. And the second thing, and most important to me, as I own an auto salvage yard, is I would like to see the private property junk vehicle removal program be reinstated this year. I know last year there was $50,000 set aside for the program. And we went through the funds pretty quick. There was two auto salvage yards that were participating in that program, me being one of them, and there was a really good feedback. I spoke with Jason Ortiz, and he told me that there was a lot of really good feedback. And I personally heard some of that feedback too. When we went out and picked up some of the vehicles, I had customers say, I wouldn't have been able to pick up these cars or have them removed because I can't afford them. I have co-compliance down my back. I can't afford it. And I understand you can only remove 3, but that's a huge burden. I had one lady who cried because I guess prior to me showing up, about a month prior, she had a medical emergency and the EMS personnel couldn't go to her door. They couldn't get up there in a quick manner. Were having issues. So anyhow, it was a really good program. I'd really like to see that happen again. If it's my preference, do what's best for the borough, of course, and allocate the money appropriately. But I would like to see the money doubled. I'd like to see $100,000 because the demand is there. I am receiving so many cards, it's unreal. I could be mistaken. This is my opinion, but as of right now, I'm the only auto salvage yard legally operating permitted salvage yard in the borough right now that's accepting free junk vehicle drop off. And I mean, last month I probably received 100 cars alone. It's crazy, but I'm doing the best I can to assist the community. Do the free drop off. I may charge in the future. It's a little bit of a burden on me, but I'm doing what I can. And with that private property junk vehicle removal program, that actually I make a little bit of money off of that. I'm not going to become rich, but some of that money that, like last year when I was the contractor, some of that money I received from that program was able to help me with the free junk drop off as well, which I'm continuing to do that now, which has not really have nothing to do with the borough. So I'm running out of time, but that was my big point, and I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly on any issue? This is audience participation, so it doesn't have to be on the agenda in order for you to bring something to the assembly's attention. Okay, don't see anybody moving, so I'll close audience participation. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance serial number 24024, an ordinance appropriating monies from the central treasury for the borough operating funds, enterprise funds, educating operating fund, and capital funds, establishing the rate of levy for all borough functions for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025, and setting the surcharge rate for the wireline and wireless enhanced 911 systems for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. This is actually a continuation of the public hearing that we had in Willow. And so again, I will invite anybody that would like to testify regarding this ordinance, regarding the budget ordinance. Okay, I don't see anybody, so, okay, yes, right. You didn't make it here in time, huh? Thank you. Deputy Mayor Jan?
I move to continue the public hearing to Tuesday, April 30th, 2024 at 6 PM in the Borough Assembly Chambers.
Okay, is there any discussion? Is there any objection to continuing the public hearing? Go ahead, sir.
Having a little bit of time and how quickly we went through the speakers, would it be a good time to possibly discuss or have some questions answered for the salvage yard, or no?
And who do you wanted to have the discussion within the assembly? Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, the ordinance is not open for debate yet, but you could ask maybe a question or comments.
Okay, well, if Mayor allows it, I'd love to bring back and have a couple questions to feedback as far as,
Or for the public you're talking about?
yeah, I know.
I don't know. What, can he request the public to come back? to
It's
have these-
ultimately up to the assembly whether you do that.
Okay, I just thought we had time, and with your permission, maybe we had a couple of questions, but if not, that's okay too.
Okay, let me ask the assembly, what is the assembly's wishes? Do you wish to have the public come back for further discussion?
I don't mind if he's,
Pardon?
mind if he has
You
a
don't
question
mind?
for the
Okay.
gentleman that spoke, yeah.
Okay, so if.
I can invite him.
Okay.
Mr. Could you come to the mic? We'll just ask a couple questions. So as you guys know, we've made a program, and a few months ago, we had the review from customers, and it seems like it reflects the feedback that we heard. And obviously, we want to continue. You've got, from what I'm understanding, you're a little late coming in, but how many cars about did you haul off under that program?
Yeah, so when you guys set aside the $50,000 at $200 a car, that allowed between the two salvage yards to haul off a total of, unless my math is incorrect, I think, what's the math on that?
Okay.
$200 a car, 250, yep, that's correct. I hauled off 139. Rustin and purchasing said, "Don't you haul off too much." It was my fault, so I ate a couple. But on the books, I hauled 129, and the other salvage yard hauled off 121. That math. Yeah,
Which
that's correct.
areas, did you go any further than the core area? I mean, just where was it mostly coming from?
Most of the junk vehicles came from the core area. I got a lot in Wasilla, Big Lake, got a good amount in Palmer. We got some out in the outskirts, Sutton, Talkeetna. Yeah,
So I
Mostly core area.
I want to thank that. I wish if the other salvage yards here, I would say, express the same thankfulness. I think that's money that's well spent, because that's one of those eyesores that I think in the valley is, I wouldn't say common, but it is in certain areas. And I think would ask when code compliance go out if we extend this program so that they also, whoever is issuing the citation will say, hey, we're actually going to have this available, take advantage of this. That it serves the purpose to maybe close some of the cases and benefits the community as a whole. And then hopefully, when time's right, you guys could put it together and ship it away so it doesn't just stay, but it actually gets recycled. So, is demand for just scrap metal is not as high right now, or?
Right now, I can't legally sell any parts until I build a shop, and I'm working on getting the finances for that. So right now, majority of what I bring in is just I'm stockpiling it, and then in the future, what I'd like to do is we'll crush the car, decant them, and I want to take them to the Port of McKenzie. We'll see if that'll work out or not, and then take them from the Port of McKenzie down south, maybe to Seattle or whatnot. As far as I know, it's been a long time since any scrap metal has gone out of the Port of McKenzie, and I think the borough wants to see the port being used. So,
Do you still have room to collect more vehicles at this time?
Yes, I'm permitted to use the entire 80 acres, and as far as I'm aware, it's the largest legally permitted salvage yard in the state. Probably more acres than I need. But I can bring in thousands of vehicles. Not that I want it. If ideally I bring them in, crush them, and get them out of there as soon as possible. But I'm doing the best I can right now.
Thank you. That's all I had for the question. But I just wanted to say I actually drove by and had him kind of show me what I like specifically compared to the other couple places. His place is tucked away where it doesn't necessarily, you can't see it if you're driving on the Vine Road and things like that. So, and if it looks like there is a reserve there to continue accepting vehicles, I'd like to Assembly support to continue that when we're making that decision. But it sounds like something that be good for our community. That's all. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Deputy Marriott, did you? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't. She's not on the list. But anyway, go ahead.
I cut in line.
You're on the list.
I'm just curious because we have had issues with not having room to stockpile them, and we had a discussion about these vehicles and what to do with them. So, like, kind of a two-part question: like, how many more cars do you think you could stockpile, and then what has kept, like, I'm trying to understand the market for why these cars aren't getting shipped out to the lower 48. Is it they're just not the funding for it, so it's something that would have to be subsidized somehow by the taxpayers to get them removed from the Matsu?
So it's kind of a long answer. I'll try and make it shorter for you. I was in the Army for a bit. I was down south. I lived in Florida, Fort Leonard, Missouri, Hawaii, and whatnot. And I remember not seeing a whole lot of junk vehicles, and I couldn't figure out why that was the case. And I came back up here and started diving into it because I don't know, I have that weird passion. I guess I like junk. I like cars. But there is no metal refineries in Alaska. So I think I said this at the last assembly. I can just go over it again really quick. In lower 48, if you have a junk vehicle, there's buyers. Hey, I'll give you $500 for your Kia. Okay, no problem. The engine's blown. We're not going to fix it. Please come pick it. Here's $500. Up here, it costs so much. A barge from Seattle to the Port of McKenzie and back down, a two-way trip is a quarter million each way, give or take. I've talked to some barge companies, if they are in the area and they're dropping something off and they're going back down, it's a $250,000. So that comes out of our profit. That's a lot of money. And the price has to be high enough to offset that price. So that's why there's a lot of junk vehicles in Alaska like you don't see anywhere else. There's no refineries up here. And the cost to start a refinery, because I know that's probably another question, it's very expensive. Hundreds of millions. Like if you do the right, legit, large, shred the cars, separate the metals and melt them down and make new product. Very expensive, something that's way out of my league. I mean, I think it'd be cool, but I don't know how feasible it is for Alaska. So anyway, all the scrap metal in Alaska has got to go down south. And what I've been told by scrap metal buyers in the state is we have a lot of scrap metal in the state, but not enough to offset the expensive price of starting up a metal refinery to actually melt down the cars and make new product. So I think that answered one part of the question. I forgot the other part, or does that answer?
Just how many more cars do you think you can take
Oh,
on your
yeah.
property?
So out of the 80 acres, I have about 15 acres cleared. I got a big old cat excavator. The engine just went out on it, so I got to rebuild that. Of the 15 acres I've cleared, I probably have about 4 acres with junk vehicles on it. So I could fit. If I assume this summer, based on how busy I've been, I'll probably bring in another 1,000 cars, if not more. That's no problem. And again, code compliance has been down to do their periodic inspections to make sure we're in compliance. There's no oil, and they're happy with what they're seeing. Every time they come down, they're very happy. You know, I follow my conditional use permit by the book. I do everything I can to do the right thing. You know, it's by appointment only right now. It's not a full-time salvage yard. I want to get to that in the future once I get my shop up, but anybody's welcome down. Just give me a call. You guys can come down and take a look, but there's plenty of room for many more thousands of cars. Again, I want to get them crushed out as soon as possible. Right now, we're just in the stockpiling phase. Little side note, a barge, a medium-sized barge, in my definition, they have huge barges, but the barge that I was looking into to go to Port of Mackenzie down south, I need about 2,500 cars. So that's kind of my goal. And once I hit that, I'll get that shop up and we'll start decanting cars, crush them, and hopefully go through the Port of Mackenzie. If not, I got to sell to a third-party buyer in Anchorage. They take a lot of the profit out of that, and then to Anchorage, and they send it out through the port there in Anchorage.
Thank you. I might bug you with some questions afterwards if you have time.
Absolutely.
Deputy Mayor Young?
Yeah. First off, I appreciate what you're doing, honestly, and thank you for getting your permit. So I want to go through a few things I've been writing between both these conversations. I think you have most of it. So 80 acres.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Vine Road.
Yes.
Nobody can see it from the highway.
That's-
I've never seen it. I drive down Vine all the time.
Yes.
You got 4 acres cleared right now, and you said you got a couple thousand cars, give or take?
15 acres cleared with 4 filled. Yeah.
4 filled.
Give or
and-
take.
That's right. In between
Yes.
the 4 filled, there's how many about?
I would say about 1,000 cars right now.
Okay. $250,000, so you can put 2,500 cars on it. So it's about $100 per car to ship it out of here.
Yeah.
Give
that
or
sounds
take,
about
right? So
yeah.
can you sell it for that much or more in the scrap metal market when the time comes?
I don't really want the public to know how much money I hope to be making. Right now, I wouldn't.
I
really
hope you
make
can sell them
anything.
for 1,000. I do. I don't. it's
Right now, I
free
wouldn't
market.
make anything. But when the price is right, there's
Okay.
definitely money to be made. Yes.
Yep. So, thanks. I think that's all the questions I got for you. You're doing a great job. I appreciate what you're doing. Manager Brown, so there's 2 different places that we sent cars to last year, 129 to one, 121 to the other. Is the one that took 121 in permitted?
So through the mayor, we only worked a contract with the 2 yards that were in compliance.
Okay, so there is another one, because I was going to ask if it's.
You
not
drive
in-
by it, it's on Vine Road too.
Okay.
You can see it from Vine Road.
All right.
And I don't want to mention company names.
No, but it's-
And then there was a third operator who's operating but is not in compliance. So we did not contract with that yard.
Thank you. That's what I don't want to make sure of, that we weren't paying $200 a car to send them to an out of compliance yard in the middle of a area that might not appreciate that. Good. I hope that we're definitely going to talk about this a lot more as a team. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? Yes, go ahead, sir.
So through the mayor to the assembly. So we do plan on bringing this topic up during the second strategic planning meeting that was requested in August. So that's been scheduled. One of the topics we want on that agenda is community cleanup. So we can kind of come back and revisit some of the things that we're doing. Not just junk vehicle or tow reimbursement, but some of the other private property cleanup efforts, talk a little bit about enforcement, stuff like that. So we do have that on your docket for August. And so if we want to bring in some of the players, I'm happy to do that. We haven't really gotten into that level of detail. And just so you know, and I don't have a problem sharing some of this publicly, is we have been in talk with a third party that's currently taking vehicles out of Alaska. And they're interested in potentially having a yard out here to take vehicles and move that. Obviously, the way we operate, competition's a good thing for us. And so I don't know what that looks like. We're not doing anything to give them an advantage or Carter an advantage. I really do appreciate what he's been doing too. And I do want to say on the record, you've been very responsive and compliant, and that's really important and good. So that's one of the things when we consider putting money in the budget and figuring out how that may be allocated, is we want to make sure we don't do anything to tip the scales for what might be happening in the private sector, that our intervention might change an outcome. And just so the Assembly's aware, and when we did the budget presentations on April 11th, we did put in a slice of funding for a position for a program coordinator, which is more than just junk vehicles, like, because we've talked about diversion program and some other things. So we would need some capacity to administer those things. And then we did put in a $150,000 placeholder. I didn't identify it as tow reimbursement or anything else. We just carved out a slice and said, hey, we're going to put this in there for community cleanup, with the expectation that we would have that conversation in August and talk about how does the Assembly want to see that apportioned or maybe go forward. So there already is an allocation in the budget for community cleanup that's pretty general in nature right now, but could be refined if that's the Assembly's desire. But I just wanted you to know kind of what we were thinking about when we put the 150 in. And the intent, as Jason Ortiz and I have been talking through this, is that his division would administer that so that we can connect it to active, open code compliance cases. So that's kind of what I can share that I know now, and we expect a more detailed conversation in August.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
How much per year is an FTE right now, approximately?
The item that was put in the budget was $107,000 for that full-time equivalent. That's salary and benefits.
How many code compliance citations did we remove last year? I think it was 40 something, or maybe even more with the program. We had a lot of people get lifted out of.
Yeah, through the mayor, I think it was in the mid-30s, were the number of code compliance cases that were closed as those efforts moved forward.
And we may not know this number now, but can you get us the number for how many are still open for junk and trash, still open, when, or you can educate a guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I would rather not guess. Yep. I would rather give you an actual number. I mean, it has been trending downward, which is really great. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do there, but we can certainly follow up with the Assembly on the, you're asking for the number of active or open.
Both those numbers, how many we got rid of last year, if it was mid-30s or whatever that was, and then how many are still open?
Yeah, absolutely. We can get that information.
Thank you, sir.
We can have that out to you in an email probably tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I remember, Mr. Yanta, is after the 2 weeks, we had the landfill, a lot of them came in compliance. So we were talking about one of the things is for those people who have violation to almost kind of give them a voucher so that they work on it, clean up outside of those 2 weeks, which I would fully support. And then a question for Manager Brown is since I don't think we have somebody from landfill, since we started free scrap metal accepting thing, that will probably start adding up there. And the idea of that is to recycle. It's not just going to be buried in the ground. Is that correct? Do you have any idea and what the logic? Because obviously it's going to attract more it coming in for free, which will benefit. But then at one point we need to make that decision to get rid of it. If you can give us anything.
Sure.
Go ahead, sir.
So through the mayor to Mr. Fonoff, yeah. So a couple of things that are in play now that are different than they were even a year ago. Number one, and we kind of are trying to step away from 2 weeks of free dump just because it creates a number of issues. And it drives our cost up, which, we're trying to avoid driving cost up to get the benefit. So we've done a $25 voucher. That voucher is spread out over an entire year. If you remember in the past, the annual landfill coupon would go out in the April timeframe and it would expire, I think, in end of May or June. So that 25, and it was $8. So we're up to $25 and it's spread out over an entire year. The other thing that's coupled with that, I think that's important when you think about like weight coming into the landfill is on July 1st, the scrap metal will be free. July 1st, because that's when the fiscal year changes over and that's when our new fee structure that you approved in January goes into effect. So when you look at the $25 voucher spread out over a year and then you consider the fact that scrap metal will be free, that those two things should go to help continue the effort. Like in a sustainable way. And that metal, just for the record, when we collect that at the landfill or at a transfer site, that goes to the third party that then takes it to Anchorage and ships it out of state for recycling. So it does not go into the landfill. It is recycled.
As of, do you know if in the past we've paid the third party to haul it away, or we break even, or I don't think they'd be paying us. Do you know anything on
We
that?
do, it depends on the commodity price, but sometimes we will collect some. So we're not losing money, kind of like Carter was just talking about. And so that's why we're comfortable moving forward with that as free, because there's no need to charge residents when we're not really paying for it. And so that allows them to come in, residents to come in and dispose for free, and hopefully helps to incentivize them doing such. And then I think at times we may make some on it, because they do recycle, they do sell it, they do at times make money depending on that commodity price. So it varies.
So the metal is gonna be, that's gonna effective July 1st, correct? So it's not effective now?
Correct.
Okay. Just
Correct.
wanted-
And so July 1st, and we've got flyers out, because that was an assembly member asked that question. I think Mr. Hale did. So we've got flyers up at the transfer sites, at the landfill, that's been posted on social media. And so July 1st, we should, hopefully we'll see an uptick in that, and we'll be able to, we do collect that data, so we'll be able to report out on, hey, have we seen an uptick based on this change in the fee structure? And is that working to encourage people to bring that stuff in and not retain it on their property?
Well, like I said, I'd like to appreciate the assembly support, because I think there was severe cases that we're probably going to discuss at a window meeting, and I have a specific one that keeps on calling and writing me regularly on the case like that, but it's not just, there's a lot more layers to that one, but hope we can attack some of those as well. But for the success that we're doing, I think that's money well spent, and I hope we continue.
Go ahead.
And I just wanted to highlight one win, and I don't mean to champion it like this is fixing the problem, but it was our most egregious junk and trash case, and I think Ms. Beaudelet was a big part of working on that. But if you drive up the Parks Highway just past Vine Road and look to the left, that's remarkably different than it has been for many, many years. And so that's a really effective use of, persistent code enforcement followed by an injunction, followed by just staying on it. And so that yielded a lot of value. The other thing that did, if you remember, the attorney talked about this, we received payment on those back taxes and whatnot. I think it was $188,000. So we will be bringing legislation forward to put that into it. We're going to recommend the assembly put that into a project account, and that funding will be available to support community cleanup efforts. So we'll couple that with the $150,000 we put in the budget for FY25. So we're trying to build the ability to fund some of this without, that will help us given it's one-time money. So I'm not suggesting that it's something that will be recurring, but it will help to move some of these efforts forward and have some funding to actually back it up.
Further discussion? Questions to the manager?
Believe, if I remember speaking of, he accepted between 80 or 100 cars from that property that we're talking about on the Parks Highway. And the reason I drove by it, it's a lot cleaner. It seems like there's going to be something else. That's very pleasant to see. And but also, like, if we establish, I believe if we continue, like he was mentioning, this set of money helps to offset what he's doing already to a community by accepting those free cars. That way, perhaps maybe for the summer, the season, they could be able to use some of that fund to hire a person so that is available, whether it's on weekends and things like that. So I think overall, it's a good strategy. Junk and overall does get cleaned up in one day or in one weekend. It's kind of case by case, but if we have that kind of mentality going forward, I think we're actually making progress in the time that I was here. So thank you again.
Further discussion or comments? Okay, so parting comments, assembly. Well, I guess Miss Attorney, parting comments.
I don't have any, thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Gamble, parting comments.
I don't have any either. Thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Fauna, parting comments. Okay, Mike, parting comments.
I did want to take a moment just to update the assembly. We had a great 2-day economic summit. Mayor Ledford declared it was the first annual, so I guess we're doing it every year now. I was a little surprised by that, but I was like, all right, fair enough. But we really, I just wanted to give you an update. There's been some social media posts about it. We've been talking about how do we step up our efforts? How do we do better, more proactive marketing for Port McKenzie? So the past 2 days, I really want to give credit to Jessica Vieira from the Greater Wasilla Chamber of Commerce. They did a remarkable job
They did.
helping make that work, and the city of Wasilla and the borough. Like, it was a great partnership. Sounds like we're going to continue it, according to Mayor Ledford. Yeah, right. But it was really good. I mean, Evangelo's was a great venue. The chamber they just know what they're doing when it comes to putting these type of things together. I don't remember what the final count was for yesterday. 88. So we had 88 folks show up and spend the day together. And then today we took probably about half of those, about 40-ish. We took them to the Wasilla train depot, and the railroad was there. They talked about those improvements that are coming at the train depot. It's going to be remarkable. And I think in the next year, you're going to see from the Parks Highway some pretty cool improvements there. And if you remember, the borough participated in acquiring that land when we moved the TIP 21 package forward. So the assembly had a role in that. Then we went over to the Wasilla Airport, talked about their expansion efforts, what they're doing to expand beyond just general aviation, which would bring more commerce, not just general aviation, which is great. And so had a really good presentation and talked about what those expansion efforts are going to look like. And if you recall, last year, the state legislature poured some money into that as well. Rep. Sumner had something to do with that, I believe. And then we went down to Port McKenzie, took those folks down there, had a great tour. It was a beautiful day for it, of course. And Dave walked them around. We toured, explained to them what we're doing, where things are going. Remarkable how many people I would ask, hey, have you been here before? And the answer was no. So it's really different when you put boots on the ground than when you just look at pictures. And so I think that really resonated with some folks. One of the CEOs from one of the mining companies that's working a claim at the end of where the proposed West Susitna access road came in from Canada, and spent both days with us, went down there, and that was his first visit to the port. So he was taking pictures at the end where it says Port McKenzie, gateway to the Matsu Borough. So that was pretty cool. And so it was a really good dialogue. So we're going to keep working that. Just wanted to make sure the assembly was aware of that. Turned out really well. And I just really wanted to say thanks for the partnership with the city and with the chamber. We could not have done that on our own, nor would we want to. We really want to have enough to bring those folks in. You really got to work. And then if you see Todd Smolden, give him props. I think he did a great job on the keynote, told us some stories, and really did the governor's office well, I think. So just wanted to say thanks to those folks and everyone else that contributed to that. We had great panel discussions, and people were very willing to give of their time. So I'll stop going on and on. It was great, but I just wanted to say thank you.
Madam Clerk, comments? No. Deputy Mayor, parting comments?
No comment.
Okay. Assemblyperson Hours, parting comments?
Second, that it was a great conference. And in addition to the things that you mentioned coming up, and one of them was roads. And so the manager at times wanted to duck out of the room. But often they weren't our roads that they mentioned, but sometimes they were. There was also a great presentation on tourism that Casey gave, with some really interesting numbers on where people are coming from to Alaska. Kind of scary how much you can track people and how much they're spending when they come here. So definitely really interesting to see the markets that are coming here from out of state and from around the state, to think about us as a tourism destination and just underscoring what an important industry that is for us. There was also discussion of planning. There was concerns about having some certainty of the investments people make in their property. And MTA was there, and they were talking about when they were laying cable, they mentioned kind of knowing what's coming down the forefront in terms of development there. They mentioned this one example on KGB where they were like, well, we thought there was going to be 40 homes, and all of a sudden there was 160 or something like that. And so they were like, well, thank goodness we found out about that, because we laid different cable. So just the different ways our growth is affecting us. And there was definitely diverse opinion on how to tackle that issue, but it was a good discussion. And then one interesting thing, and I don't know if this is maybe the mayor knows or the manager, the issue with the workforce and having kids who are 16 who may be ready to go work, but they can't because of, it might be a federal rule that, I don't know if it's a federal or state rule, but you know, you can't go up ladders, you can't hold it seems like we're holding back kids who otherwise would be ready and like to keep them rolling in fields they're interested in, whether that might be construction or nursing or whatever. Like I had my own experience with my daughter who had an ETT certificate at 15 and then she can't, like there was no place for her, like the hospital, she couldn't go in and watch surgery because of HIPAA rules. But this was very specific to 18 and under. And I don't know if anybody at this table knows if that's a federal or state rule that keeps kids out of the workplace.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I don't know specifically, or through the mayor, I don't know specifically, but I think that could be something we could dig into a little deeper and consider as a legislative priority. Because I do think it's challenging, and you look at kids these days and you're like, man, if we can just give them the opportunity to get some hands-on, like you talked about in the healthcare example, we were talking about it with, you know, welding and some of the other things. And I think you've heard it from the school district when they talk about CTE offerings, you know, that it really limits their ability to get kids practical hands-on experience. So I think that's something we could certainly talk to the district about and do some more work on if we wanted to bring that forward as a fall priority and consider, you know, what changes at the state and or federal level could we support.
Thank you. I think that'd be great just to get the kids more jazzed about these careers they could go into if they can get out and see it. That's as valuable as the classroom. Thanks.
Yeah, I recently attended the signing for the CTE at Wasilla, and I see Ken there out of the fire service CTE program that they have at Wasilla High. I believe there were 3 people that had signed the letter of intent to come on as firefighters for our borough, as well as there were 5 other gentlemen and lady that signed the intent. One was going to college, one was going to AvTech, and a couple of others were going to private business. And I think that's the first time, you know, we're all familiar with the signing for football or basketball or something like that. But that was the first time that it was for career opportunities. They were going either right directly to college and or right into the workforce. And so that was a major thing also. And I'll echo all my thanks again to Jessica. I've only told her, I think, I don't know, is it 17, 18 times today or something like that? But yeah, it went without a hitch. And the gentleman that you were talking about when we were walking there at the end, he said, well, because we have the big sand pile, you know, down at the port. And so he said, my vision is to come very soon back here so that we will have a hill as bigger than that of copper ready to be shipped out of here. So he received it very well, I think. And for somebody of his caliber, with a company that's on the New York Stock Exchange, to spend 2 days in Wasilla and Palmer and the Matsu Borough, I thought spoke a lot to the organization for how the organization had reached out. And so anyway, it was well worth the time and effort and all of that. So anyway, any other comments from anybody? Did I catch everybody? Okay. So with there being no objection, I will adjourn the meeting at 6:40.